Wane, yule dem tulikuwa tunaambiwa.
Kwani amefanya? Hizi shop zote 3 ni zake. Na next door anachukua pia.
Na imagine tuko na haka kitu kamoja tu.
Na ni bodyguards zako na wana.
Nasikia wanamshughulikia everything. ATM zake, credit card zake 24/7.
Hadi usiku.
Kwani 24/7 inamaanisha?
That means anamlipia hata bill zake pia. KRA, NHIF, UEFA. Anafanywa zote akiwa ametulia tu hivi.
Kitu kingine nasikia ni eti so secure.
Kwani kuna banki yake, si mtu kama hizi utakamtoa nenda kwa bank. Nasikia hiyo katu hivi. The whole day kwa tablet akifanywa kila kitu.
Na hao bodyguards wake ndio umpelekea do kwa majuu.
Unaona wale wawili waso au fanya bulk payments.
Nilisikia ni ati local accounts zake, foreign accounts zake anashughulikiwa.
Aki no wonder business yake imegrow hivyo Lazima kuna bank yake special.
Your banking team is at your fingertips. Go digital. Visit coopbank.co.ke and click on New Internet Banking.
It is 22nd of June 2021. You tune in to Maisha Television and this is Maisha Live at 1. My name is Rida Chebet Karim. We start off on a sad note. A family in Ngashura, Nakuru County is counting losses worth millions of shillings after a known group of people slashed a maize plantation over a land dispute. Mbui, who owns the land, says that 5 acres worth of the maize was wrecked by a group of youth allegedly hired by a private developer who desires to evict her from the land.
Asubuhi hii ninasimama hapa. Ninakuja nikakuta shamba yote hakuna kitu. Imekatakatwa mahindi yote hakuna kitu. Na ikawekwa beacon. Ile mimi sijui iliwekwa usiku au mchana. Bwana yangu alibariki. Na kubariki kwake sijasikia mtu akisema hii shamba ni yake. Nimekaa hapa na watoto wangu na kile alituachia. Na nyumae mtu alitoka na huko akasema huku ni kwake.
Tunashtuka sana. Na wakati niliona hii mahindi imepekwa, nilisikia roho yangu imeisha nguvu. Naomba baba ya taifa atusaidie. Serikali itusaidie tu waone bahali tunaweza kwenda. Ama hili bahali hii kesi itakwisha, tukae bahali tunakaa. Bahali tuliachwa na bwana yetu tukae hapo.
Tafadhali serikali ikiwa president atusaidie tupate title deed ya hizi mashamba. Juu kuna wenye wana nguvu sana wanatusumbua usiku na mchana. Wanakuja wanabomoa manyumba, wanakuja wanakata mahindi kama hizi, hata hawana huruma.
Eka ambazo ziko hapa pamekatwa mashamba, mahindi imekatwa ni 5.5 ambazo zimekatakatwa bila kujali ya kwamba ni wakati wa jua, ni wakati wa jaa. Sasa wamekatwa mahindi yao, kwa hivyo ni kusema kwamba wamewachiwa sasa wahangaike kwa ajili ya jaa. Na zimekatakatwa na mtu ambaye hajui dhamana ya
The Interior CS Fred Matiang'i has promised to review the COVID-19 protocols on closure of churches and places of worship in the recently declared COVID-19 hotspot zone areas. With the country's positivity rate standing at 8.2%, the Ministry of Health has continued to urge Kenyans to adhere to the COVID-19 measures, especially those in the 13 red zone counties. Matiang'i spoke yesterday after meeting with the Interfaith Council of Kenya in Nairobi while declaring the extension of its term to December 31st, 2021. The Interior CS Fred Matiang'i came to the rescue of the clergy after an uproar over the crackdown of churches in 13 counties.
Hata ikiwa ni ibada, watu wanafungiwa misikiti, na supermarket imefunguka. Je, ni uungwana huo? Na mabasi imefunguka.
Speaking after the meeting with the Interfaith Council on Monday, June 21st, Matiang'i directed authorities to respect religious leaders. This comes a day after worshippers and pastors were arrested during church services.
This is a tough time, and let's not make it worse by being unduly abrasive in the manner in which we deal with our people. And as I've said, we are going to review and look at some of the measures as we will be advised by our colleagues at the Ministry of Health. At all times, we will act in the direction that will be advised by our scientists.
He further noted that the pastors had played a pivotal role in advising the ministry on how to handle the crisis since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the country in March 2020.
Where our colleagues at the MOH are going to require collaboration with IFC, for example, when we receive more vaccines. My colleague Mercy was telling us this morning, and Dr. Mott, that as we expect to get more doses, we will again engage probably in a more rapid vaccination exercise, and at that time we have to work with the structures of the IFC, and we have to work with the network of the IFC to ensure that we support and secure our people.
While setting curfew between 7 p.m. and 4 a.m. in 13 counties, Matiang'i had directed that all public gatherings and in-person meetings of whatever nature be prohibited within the hotspot zone, including house parties and sporting activities.
Wanasema hata saa moja tuende nyumbani. Najua saa moja ndio labda ni mahali ama ni wakati wa kufanya kidogo. Tuko na maloni hapa ya pikipiki. Hii loni utalipaje loni kama saa moja asubuhi, saa moja jioni hadi umeenda kwa nyumba. Hiyo ndio kazi ambayo imekuwa ngumu sana kwetu. Na naona hii biashara imekuwa ngumu kwa serikali. Juu ya hii curfew imetuumiza sana.
One key thing that is worrying us is that the attack rate, which is a measure of the new cases within these counties, has almost gone up 15-fold in these counties. And one key thing of concern for us is the Delta virus. A key element, again, that is of focus in these counties is the availability of isolation beds. We are working with all the county governments to ensure that we get the requisite surge capacity for isolation beds. We've also coupled this with oxygen.
During his speech, the CS also vowed to extend the lifespan of the Interfaith Council that was set to lapse at the end of June to December 2021.
I know that the life of the Interfaith Council is supposed to end at the end of this month, but I will issue a gazette notice later today extending the life of the IFC until 31st of December 2021 so that we can continue this collaboration as we work together.
Maisha TV. And Vihiga County has begun the restoration of the Maragoli Hills with a view to protect the water catchment area. According to Governor Wilbur Otichilo, at least 150 million shillings has so far been used in the last 3 years to bring back to life the hills, which has for long been water catchment area for the whole county.
Maragoli Hills helps to minimize soil erosion, regulate water cycle, and provide habitat to thousands of life forms.
Kwanza tulisema tunataka kufanya rehabilitation ya hii Maragoli Forest. Irudie vile ilikuwa zile nyakati za zamani.
The move, according to the Cabinet Executive Commissioner for Environment, has increased forest cover in the county from 4% to 14%.
Hivi nafikiri tumeimprove kwa sababu ilikuwa chini sana at 4%, lakini sasa tunaongelea at 14%. Kwa hivyo hatuko vibaya sana, tunaendelea vizuri na nafikiri kwa miaka 5 ama 10 ijayo itakuwa imekamilika vizuri.
The initiative has also increased water harvesting in the region.
Na water harvesting pia imekuwa sawa sawa, kwa maana ukienda hata kwa mtoni hapo chini utaona kuna maji. Na sana sana tunaangalia kwenye mito ziko.
The county has partnered with various stakeholders including KWS in reviving the hills.
Kwa hivyo kwa jumla naweza sema kwamba tumetumia kwa jumla almost 50 million shillings per year. So in 3 years inaweza kuwa 150. Wajua ingine watu wanafanya kazi hapa kama forest service wako hapa wanapanda. Kama tukipiga hesabu ile pesa wangelipwa, hawa vijana wetu wako hapa. KWS inatumia pesa kuwalipa mshahara kidogo. So kwa jumla naweza estimate about 150 million in the last 3 years.
On other hand, locals were called upon to keep close eye on indigenous trees, which take long time to grow.
Tuna advise community kama kuna eucalyptus hapo karibu na mito wakate na tunawapatia, hata sisi tunajitolea sisi wenyewe kuwapatia bamboo.
The commissioner added that policy will be made to ensure that residents do not tamper with environment, especially those carrying out sand harvesting at the river banks.
Tumeweka in place kama serikali ya Vihiga County, tumeweka in place ya kwamba kama kutakuwa na sand harvesting ni lazima tuhakikishe ya kwamba tumeweka mikakati ili hata county itafaidika kwa upande wa revenue collection na pia isiharibu mazingira ama tena isilete mmomonyoko wa udongo.
Philip Simiyu, Maisha TV.
And the Ministry of Education has issued guidelines for the implementation of free-day secondary education for the year 2021-2022. The government is saying it will continue enhancing its capitation for free-day secondary education to ensure parents are not exploited. As part of mitigating the impact of COVID-19, the ministry will also subsidize the boarding fee, and schools will now be required to operate different accounts for various items. In the latest guidelines released by Ministry of Education, each learner in a day secondary school will continue getting 22,244 Kenya shillings annually. For a school to be eligible for a subsidy, it must be duly registered and headed by a principal duly appointed by the Teacher Service Commission. A school must be further registered on the NAMES platform alongside updated details of the learners. Additionally, the bank accounts for tuition and operational grants must be registered in NAMES and with the Ministry of Education at all its levels. In terms of boarding schools, following the disruption of the school calendar from 39 weeks to 30 weeks for the academic year beginning 26th of July to 4th March 2022, the Ministry of Education has revised guidelines on fee payable by parents. The government will provide subsidy for each learner in a boarding school that is equal to that of each in a day school, amounting to 22,244 Kenya shillings. Category S schools, that includes all national schools and extra county schools located in Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, Kisumu, Nyeri, Thika and Eldoret town. The total fee shall be 67,244 shillings. Out of this amount, the government will pay 22,244 Kenya shillings, while the parent will be required to pay the remaining 45,000 Kenyan shillings. Category B, that includes extra county boarding schools that are located in other areas than the towns of Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, Thika, Eldoret and Kisumu. The school fee total shall be 57,244 Kenya shillings, while the government will foot 22,244 Kenya shillings. The parent will be required to pay 35,000 shillings.
Mkaaji wa hapa Bungoma, lakini kwetu tumeshukuru sana serikali kweli kupunguza kweli school fees.
Nashukuru sana serikali kwa hali hii, ilikuwa imetusaidia kama sisi wananchi wa chini.
The grand total in special needs schools shall be 65,167 Kenya shillings. The government will cater for 53,807 and the parent will foot the remaining 10,860 shillings.
Na wale wenye walikuwa wanalipa school fees shilingi 56,000 kama nation, sasa sahi wametuambia tunalipa 45,000. Hiyo ni sifa na shukrani sana kwa serikali kuu.
Kwa majina naitwa Eunice Ambale. Nashukuru serikali imetupunguzia school fees by 15%. Sasa sisi kama wananchi wa chini, walimu wasitunyanyase.
Serikali, mheshimiwa waziri wa elimu, kuja angalia hao walimu na waambie wasiongezee sisi pesa.
Maisha TV. And still in matters education, the Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has urged parents to pay their children fees, and those who cannot are said to benefit from the ministry's scholarship program. Magoha said that over 9,000 students will benefit this round, especially those residing in slum areas. The CS further said that institutions countrywide are prepared to receive Form 1 students come August 2nd.
As you are aware, this scholarship is for 9,000 odd children, 3,000 of those children are supposed to be in urban slums and informal settlements. I have already been to other areas like Kiandutu. Today I'm here in Bangladesh, and of the 3,000 children, 62 of them will come here from here in Bangladesh. The 3 children that I visited this morning are thoroughly deserving, and I've found one paradigm which must be shifted right now, that once a child has won this scholarship, the onus now lies with government to place that child in a suitable boarding school. Reason being, the government already pays everything for the day secondary schools, which are 75% of the schools, at the rate of a capitation of 22,240 shillings per child. And basically what the child requires is to be either uniform or lunch money. So there's no need to have a good scholarship and you go to a day school. Therefore, we are going to ensure as a government that all the children who land this Elimu scholarship shall go to boarding schools where everything is catered for, including school uniform and transport. I'm going to persuade His Excellency the President to authorize that we have another 18,000, 9,000 for next year and 9,000 for the following year, so that we have a whole 4 years of Elimu scholarship cohorts, which will then be helping about 36,000 children from poor backgrounds, so that the children that just miss but deserve, we still need to have their list. Are we together here? Yeah, and we have no teeth to laugh. Those who can afford to pay fees will pay fees. We want to help those who cannot.
And now in Maisha Business News, the Kenya Power has launched a self-service portal to enable the customers to conveniently apply for electricity connections from the comfort of their locations. The customers can use the Kenya Power's mobile phone app, My Power, to apply for electricity or visit the self-service portal using a computer or a mobile phone. In a statement, the Kenya Power Managing Director and the CEO Bernard Ngugi say that when making their applications, customers will be required to submit land property ownership documents, ID cards and PIN certificates through their portal. The company will also send customers text messages updating them whenever the applications move to the next stage. This launch follows a successful pilot phase during which 7,000 applications were processed through the online platform. The self-service portal will also eliminate instances of customers falling prey to fraudsters who ask them to pay for application forms or claim they can assist customers to apply for power at a fee. And in Ethiopia, voting continued in key elections amid rising tensions and conflict in the northern Tigray region. This pandemic delayed the polls. The election is Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's first electoral test since coming to power in 2018. Bushebi Jr. has the full report.
Polling stations opened in Ethiopia on Monday as Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's ruling Prosperity Party is widely expected to cement its hold on power. The party that wins a majority of seats in the House of People's Representatives will form the next government. Close to 40 million people have registered to take part in the national and regional parliamentary elections, but in a fifth of the country's constituencies, Ethiopians won't be able to cast their vote as a result of insecurity and logistical issues. In 64 of them, the vote was pushed back to September 6th, but officials have yet to set a date for Tigray's 38 constituencies. The elections, which were delayed twice since last year, are now contested by members of the opposition, with some accusing Ethiopia's ruling party of harassment, manipulation and threats of violence that echo abysses of the past. Other prominent opposition parties have decided to boycott the election. Abiy is facing growing international criticism over the war in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region, sparked in part because Tigray's now fugitive leaders objected to Ethiopia postponing the election last year while citing COVID-19. Tigray's former leaders who are fighting Ethiopian forces and those from neighboring Eritrea have reported the fierce new combat in recent days. Ethiopia's defense forces have called the fighting challenging because of the rough terrain. Thousands of civilians have been killed in what observers describe as drawn-out guerrilla war. Meanwhile, outbreaks of ethnic violence have killed hundreds of people in the Amhara, Oromia and Benishangul Gumuz regions in recent months. International concern has been growing about the election. The US has said it is gravely concerned about the environment under which these upcoming elections are to be held, and the European Union said it will not observe the vote after its requests to import communications equipment were denied. In response, Ethiopia said external observers are neither essential nor necessary to certify the credibility of an election, although it has since welcomed observers deployed by the African Union. The United Nations Secretary General has noted the challenging environment and warned against acts of violence. Security forces were deployed in capital city Addis Ababa in the country to ensure a peaceful election. Maisha TV.
Well, it's always an honor to have your company throughout the bulletin. My name is Arida Tibet Karim. That's all you had for today. Enjoy your day.
Yeah.